This is the Snake Wolf hissing at you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Masterverse, Masters of the Universe Revolution, Sorceress Teela, Snake version. Based on, obviously, the Revolution series, this is what happens when Teela gets the Power of Ka from Granamyr on Eternia. Spoiler alert, I guess. When you look at it like this, they consider there to be three forms of magic slash gods, I guess you could say. You have Zor, which, as you may know, for Masters of the Universe was originally the sorceress's alternate form. Ka, who is the snake god. And then, I don't remember what they called the havoc god. Although, when Teela got that power, she looked a lot like Krita from the New Adventures of He-Man. Anyway, the artwork on here looks gorgeous. This is actually probably one of my favorite designs that they've used in Masterverse so far. Closest thing we've gotten to a, quote, sexy version of Teela also. Artwork continues on the side where we see the Havoc staff, the Falcon staff, and the Snake staff. On the back, we got a nice view of her, and looks like we do have a special effect feature for her. We do have a cloth tail, which is, honestly, it kind of looks cheap in these images. Staff. This artwork actually makes me think of a specific pair of cosplayers that I see on Instagram. And man, I would love to see them actually do this as a cosplay. Might have to take some images of that, post it on Instagram, and make sure to mention them. Sorceress Teela, the heroic guardian of Castle Grayskull. The wise dragon Granamyr found Teela worthy of the power of Ka, transforming her with the ancient power to aid her in her quest to rebuild Eternia. Let's go ahead and open this sucker up, shall we? Oh, and we do have another image of Teela on the side of the box that I missed when I was looking at it. I did that with Skeletor and the throne too, didn't I? We have the side package that shows us the black and white outlines that show all the items that come with her. And the little thing that says, open me up for more. And the same cheap plastic baggy thing that they've been using with G.I. Joe also prior to bringing back the window packaging. We have alternate hand sculpts. Generally, the consideration for these would be for magical use. I really need to pay more attention to what I am doing on the screen here. We have her Snake Energy Bolt. Freaking tape. I hate when they do that. I don't know if the cloth that they picked is actually meant to kind of fold in on itself like it is here. Like if that was purposeful to kind of give it more of that rounded snake look to it. But this feels really flimsy. Obviously a cheap polyester used. Unfortunately, it also looks like the headdress does not look like it comes off. Head sculpt otherwise looking pretty good though. At first I thought they were using like a black lip tone, but it looks like it is more of a dark burgundy. So we still got some red in there, but a little bit more brown. Unfortunately, there is some kind of a paint or plastic issue on this part. I will straight out say I have one bit of disappointment with this figure, and that is that we did not get an alternate head sculpt with her without the headdress on, because I would have liked to have seen us be able to do that with her. And unlike Lingerie Lynn, you don't have to worry about the cuts lining up on her thighs and arms. The headdress is actually attached to her head permanently, although I suppose we could actually pull it out if we really wanted to. But as you can see here, the headdress is actually a soft plastic and the head sculpt is a hard plastic, and they are combined together. You know, even though you can't, like, the ears are still on her head sculpt, even though you can't see them. So, yeah, I don't know why they didn't just go ahead and give us a second. I mean, I know it didn't happen in the series per se, but it still would have been kind of nice to have have the head without the headdress on it, you know, just to kind of be a throwback towards the vintage figures. But it does look really nicely painted and sculpted. The snake on the top looks really good. While we've got the head off, let's take a better look at the torso. She's actually got a cleavage, but she looks like she's wearing kind of like a crop top with that attaches to her bikini bottom. We do see some butt cheek there. This is like a swimsuit model Teela. We do have some scaling details on her shoulders. So that is actually a physical detail. And then they kind of give us more of a scale-like reflection on her arms, or biceps, and her forearms. Once we get the head sculpt back on now, as far as articulation goes, her head can spin around. Obviously, you can see where it is malforming the headdress in order to do it. So it does interfere with it. The headdress itself is sculpted all the way down so that you get full view of her cleavage. This actually kind of makes me think that part of their basis for design on this is actually from the DC Masters of the Universe comic they did during the classic era, when they had Teela take on the power of the snake goddess in order to replace the sorceress. Which I would love to see them make a figure of that version too. Arms hinge up and down and can, well, theoretically they should spin around, but that joint is super tight. Of course, the headdress does interfere with that quite a bit, but you can still get it all the way around. It just moves ahead with it. We have a bicep cut. We have the double jointed elbow, which is great. She has a boob cut so that we can move her torso around. There is no waist articulation, however. Her legs can kick out. And for some reason, I can get this leg to go all the way out, like a good chunk, but I cannot get the left one to go all the way out. So the left side is not as good as the right side as far as the articulation goes on this one. And I'm not sure what causes that, but be aware. The way the joint is made, though, it almost simulates the drop-down hips that G.I. Joe has, but it does not have the drop-down hip. It just kind of simulates it. which is kind of interesting, actually. We have a thigh cut, so we can spin all around. And actually, she can kick really high. She can't go back too far. Her butt gets in the way. Even when you kind of like slide her out more, it doesn't really go back any further. Double joint at the knee. She does have a boot cut. So even though there's no boot, you know, and it's solid, it's actually, you can see the seam, but it is hidden pretty well. At the ankle, we have a hinge, which moves very, very small, and it is very, very stiff. But we can also spin it around. She's also got a hole in her foot like she stepped on a nail. Her toenails are also painted, I would like to note. We have her snake staff of Ka. Oops. This is different than the one that came with the Skeletor throne. For a moment, I almost kind of thought that maybe the top of it was the same, but I don't think it is. Especially since it looks like the staff is actually a solid piece, where when I saw this, I was expecting it to be the top was separate from the staff base. Although now that I think about it, she's got red fingernails and black toenails. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know women sometimes do that, but I would have thought in the figure-wise they would have kind of matched those. And I think the fingernails honestly should have been matched to the lips in this case, but that's just me. And I want to say, based on some of the artwork we saw, I think this can fit over. So we can, oh my God. So while this does have the same articulation as the average figure, it is being a real pain in the ass to try to pose her. As I was trying to show, we can have her launching the blast from her snake staff, which I think actually looks pretty cool in my opinion. I think that's a good way to do it. And maybe Teela should stop day drinking. Now let's go ahead and swap out her hand. So we got her mystical hand up there. And this actually does look like it's a new hand sculpt. Ugh. Show it to you here. Because rather than just painting on the that black part there to show the bit that goes up to her finger, it is actually a sculpted bit. And you can even kind of see where the base of that would be on the underside of her finger, but they did not paint that part. So that's actually pretty nice. I'm so used to the toy companies just cheaping out and not having the physical detailing when they do stuff like that, instead of just slapping on a layer of deco. And last but not least, we can also have Teela holding onto the blast like she's launching it off of her hand itself. And to help with that appearance, we can actually wrap the blast around her hand too. Which is funny because this is actually how it's shown on the box, right? coming off of her hand. But it does fit better on the end of the snake staff than it does on her hand. So my overall on this figure is simply this. I like the design of it. She looks good. The sculpting, especially on the headdress, looks great. It irritated that we have that paint issue there. Not quite as impressed with the tail skirt piece. It does look cheap to me, but it's not horrible. They definitely went for a longer look to it, which means it's going to take up some extra real estate on your display shelf. Most likely, it's going to have to be folded over or something to keep it out of the way with the other figures. The staff looks fine. Honestly, it would have been hard for them to screw up the staff. The head sculpt, it's a gorgeous sculpt for her herself. I just wish that they had given us a second snake Sorceress Teela head without the headdress on it, just to give us some variation on what we can do with her. And of course, just to throw in as a quick comparison, I do have the Origins Eternia Goddess. And even if you want to say they do take some of the design cues or the basic concept there, they definitely made it their own. And they did a good job of it. I think so far this is the best version of Teela that they have given us for the Netflix cartoon series. I imagine though that we will not be getting any more of that series because it didn't sound like Revolution did that good, and we know a lot of people didn't like Revelation. So I guess we ultimately won't get to see the whole Despara storyline that they were about to start with Hordak. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. I know the visuals are going to be a bit messy. I decided to record this at 1x instead of the 0.5x I normally record at for scaling, just because I wanted to see how it turned out. If it's really bad, you'll probably never see this video. Anyway, let me know what you think. Which version of Teela from the Revelation and Revolution series was your favorite? The quote, classic styled one, the angry, selfish, bitch, mercenary version, the first sorceress version of Zor, the snake goddess sorceress, are, as I keep on referring to it, the Krita sorceress for Havoc, or even the Tri-Sorceress with all the powers combined, making her into Captain Eternia. And if you'd like to throw in a subscription, I would certainly appreciate it. Peace and love.